It is the morning sports desk for Monday, July 8th. I'm CJ Baumgartner. There is Corey Tackman, and it is a Monday. And Corey, 4th of July week, what was your plans? What were you up to?
A lot. A classic 4th of July barbecue. Family went to the Como Zoo. We got to, water slide, a little relaxing, some fireworks. I had lunch with a January 6th rioter, just the usual stuff that you would do to celebrate America.
All right. Awesome. And because it's a Monday, awesome. I don't know. I got nothing more to say on that. Because it's a Monday, Corey, it's time to do what we call a
vibes. You know about vibes?
Vibe check. Vibe check.
Put out the vibe.
All right, we're putting out the vibe in Minnesota sports on a Monday morning vibe check. Let's start things off with your Minnesota Twins, who took 2 of 3 from the Houston Astros on a Christian Vasquez walk-off homer. I could not believe it. Genuinely shocked, hitting it off Josh Hader. And the Twins take 2 out of 3 from a red-hot Astros team that was in last place a month ago and has worked themselves back into the NL West contention. But that's not, we're talking about, the Twins generally, whatever. Obviously, we feel pretty good about them. Corey, I'm going to do this a 3-pronged Twins vibe check. So
okay.
First of all, as we get ready for this, I'm going to try and make sure I get this loaded up here on the stage correctly for my PowerPoint, which I don't think is on there right. But I'm going to put it back on there in a second. But give me your vibe check right now on Jose Miranda, who tied an MLB record, 12 hits in 12 straight at-bats, something that hadn't been done since 1952. How you feeling?
Yeah, are you kidding me? That was amazing, too. And they weren't in the 12, there weren't many cheap ones either. Like he was kind of like bashing it through a shift, or he was hitting line drives into the gaps, or he was hitting home run, whatever it was. It was just, he was just red hot. So the vibe checks are good. I can't remember what the words are. High. The vibes are high. It's the vibe I like.
It's the vibe I love. That's where we're at. Okay.
That was awesome. That was incredible to watch that.
Incredible. And then, by the way, when Miranda had the at-bat where he eventually got out, the pitcher for Houston, the starting pitcher, I can't remember his name on Saturday, the hardest 2 pitches he threw were the first 2 fastballs he threw to Miranda in that at-bat.
Sure.
He was a little you're not breaking the record on me, man. He threw 2 101-mile-an-hour fastballs, and Miranda was just trying to, the only thing you can do against some of those is just swing out of your shoes and hope you make contact.
Right.
And he eventually flew out. But still, a great run for Jose Miranda. All right, second of the Twins prong is Carlos Correa, the Twins' lone all-star for the Minnesota Twins. Do you think, 1, is Carlos Correa deserving of an all-star? And 2, should another Twin have been given this honor?
That's a tough one. Love that Correa made it. I have no issue with saying he's been their best player this year.
Yeah.
With the possible exception of Royce Lewis for the 14 games we've seen him this year.
In theory,
Royce Lewis in theory is the best player. But yeah, I have no issue. Pablo's is come on strong of late. He had a weird start the other day. That was just kind of a crazy game. There were a lot of hits and a lot of runs in that game, and things got away from both teams in that one. But I don't know who else are you picking? I think I don't know that anybody's getting snubbed necessarily. Do you?
I think, first of all, Correa totally deserving. Second of all, I think there's a couple. You could put Joe Ryan in that category of a guy who's deserving of an all-star game nod. He's been the Twins' most productive starting pitcher this season. Griffin Jax has an ERA under 2, a WHIP under 1. Is a guy who isn't going to get an all-star nod because typically if you're a reliever, they're going to go to closers in the all-star game. And Griffin Jax, well, he's been the fill-in closer or the option behind Duran. Still is more of a primary setup man, but I think Griffin Jax is worthy of an all-star nod. Willie Castro, wasn't ever going to get it just because he doesn't really have a position, and they typically don't give all-star game appearances to utility men. But Willie Castro has been sneaky important to the Twins this year. One who I think people might not think of at first glance would have been, if it didn't go to Correa, would have been Byron Buxton. And the theory behind that is Buxton plays a position in center field where offense is still not, it's like in the olden days, your center fielders were just guys who were fast and could slap hit. But if you look at Byron Buxton in baseball with the OPS, he was the third highest. So you could have made if Correa wasn't going to get it because there were too many shortstops on the All-Star game roster, maybe it would have been Buxton just because of his OPS being high. Now, obviously, it didn't work out that way. I'm fine with it. But yeah, it's fascinating because the Twins are a team that's on pace to win 90-plus games, but they only get one All-Star. Meanwhile, the Royals, who have cooled off tremendously, have like 4.
That is kind of the weird part of these all-star games. But also it's something you need to consider in all of this is like the Twins have won 5 straight series. They're playing pretty decent baseball, but where are they in the standings? Like, you're right to say that Griffin Jacks has been really important. And obviously what Buxton has been doing is really important, but does that make them all-star worthy? All-Star is supposed to be the best of the best, and just because you're important to the team's success, you've been important to a second-place team in a bad division. There's a difference, you know what I mean? There's a difference between being an all-star and I'm underselling what the Central's doing this year. I understand that, but I also there's just a difference between being an all-star, which Correa most certainly is, and being important for a team that is, has spent time at 4th place in the division this season so far.
It's Correa's first All-Star nod as a Twin, his 3rd All-Star appearance, made one in 2021, also had an appearance in 2017. Looking at those AL Central standings, by the way, and I think we can get this with Correa.
It's the vibe I love.
Yeah, we're feeling pretty good about that. The current American League Central standings with 6 games for the Twins left to go until the All-Star break. Cleveland with a record of 56-32, best record in the American League, a 30-11 record at home, which is insane. They're in first place. The Twins are in second place in the AL Central, 51-39. They have a 6-game deficit behind the Guardians, despite having the AL's best record since starting 7-13 back in April. They've only gained 1 game in the division since then. It's crazy. The Kansas City Royals have fallen off. Not tremendously, but have fallen off a little bit. They're 49-43, 9 games back of the Guardians, 3 games back of the Twins. The Tigers are who we thought they were. They're 42-48, 15 games back of the Gardos. And the White Sox are 26-66 with a .283 winning percentage. Corey, how you feeling about that?
They stink.
They're awful. By the way, the Twins start a series tonight in Chicago, 3 against the Chi Sox.
I will say this in defense of the Twins, and then we can move on. One of the things that happens is it's July 8th, and we just got through a holiday, and this is certainly the dog days of summer. You know what I mean? Like you're right, best record in baseball since starting 7-13. But how many people who aren't paying attention to everything every single day know that?
Right.
They just look up and they go, this team's 6 back still. Like, that doesn't matter. If you look up and you're constantly 6 games back, no matter what you're doing, then it's just it's easy for other people to overlook what the Twins are actually doing, and it's it's hard to overcome that, even if they're playing good baseball.
And it's fascinating because a year ago at this time they were like a game under 500, but they were still like 2 games behind the Guardians in the AL Central, and it was like,
right.
We looked at this team completely different too, because I know last year there was a lot of weirdness with them, but we still felt like there was a good baseball team underneath. And this year they're a legitimately good baseball team, and it feels like the hype is like it's building a little, but like you said, it's kind of that dog days of like, I don't know, they're like nowhere close to Cleveland right now. They're
on TV the other night, Provis said one of the biggest crowds he's seen all season. It was 31,000. I'm like, they're not even selling. They haven't even sold out ticket field yet. So it's there's something amiss, the connection between what that team is doing and its fans right now. Of course, I blame a certain television provider.
Oh.
But that has to be a part of it. But there is a little bit of a disconnect with what the Twins are doing and their fans so far this summer.
Oh, 100%. It's been that way since, shockingly, they won a playoff series for the first time in 20 years, because then like a month later, it's put out there that like they're probably going to cut payroll, and then they don't really build on a very successful season the way that typically a team would like to. And on top of that, yeah, the Bally situation, the Twins talked all offseason about accessibility and ready to go, and it's going to be awesome. And then at the last second, they took the money, and then they didn't let everybody know how much money they were getting from Bally this year. They said payroll was still going to go down. And then of course, Bally got taken off of Comcast, which is a big provider for a lot of people across Minnesota, especially in the Twin Cities. Because notice how like it was been off a lot of platforms for 3 years. But once it went off Comcast, all of a sudden, like the Star Tribune's reporting more highly on it, and everything's talking about it. And yeah, turns out when people can't see the games, they don't get invested in the team.
Yeah.
It's a shocking premise, I know.
This is the time now, though, where Twins fans and baseball fans in general start to take note, because not really anything that's happening between anything else, I should say, that's happening between now and September. Obviously, there's the Olympics this summer, things like that. And, oh, by the way, we'll be able to watch the Olympics. We won't be able to watch the Twins. But this will be the time to if the Twins keep playing good baseball, this will be the time when it starts to ramp up towards September, you know?
Right. Until the Vikings start, in which case then all bets are off. All right. One last thing for the Twins, and then we'll move on the vibe check, because we just haven't had time to talk about this last week. Brooks Lee. Corey, what's the vibe?
He's everything every Twins fan wanted him to be so far, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the team's so Walker Jenkins is technically the Twins' top prospect, but in my personal rankings, I've called Brooks Lee the Twins' top prospect because he's like within earshot of the major leagues, whereas Walker Jenkins has a lot of theoretical value. You know what you're going to get in Brooks Lee. The ceiling on Walker Jenkins is higher, but the higher he gets through the minor leagues, the more we'll find his flaws and kind of figure out what player he's actually going to be in the major leagues. Because right now you talk about him and he's like a Hall of Famer on theoretical value. But like Brooks Lee, you kind of know that he's not going to have high power numbers. You know, he's this and that and whatever. But you know a little bit more of his flaws. But the thing on Brooks Lee, his dad is a college coach, Division I. He played for his dad for a couple of years in college before getting drafted to the Twins. He's a high floor player. He is just a baseball guy. Brooks Lee, baseball name. Dad, Division I baseball coach. Played shortstop. Plays every position in the infield. It does everything. He's a high floor prospect. His ceiling isn't super high, but he's going to be a guy that's going to get up there. He's going to hit 280. He's going to maybe hit about 17 home runs a year, and he's going to play reliable defense. And he's never going to be like the Royce Lewis star power, but he's going to be a guy that's like hitting anywhere from like 2 to 5 in the order, and is just consistently like you look up at the end of the day when, oh, he went 2 for 4. Nice. Had a double. Like,
yeah, if this were like old school baseball, you would pencil him into the 2 slot in your batting order.
Right.
For the next decade. He's that kind of, where you put him in the order nowadays, I guess I really have no idea, but he's a guy you could just have in your order every single day. And he's more than a utility guy, right? God bless Willie Castro, but he's more than that. Defensively, it'll be fascinating to see what his position ends up being when it's all said and done with the Twins over the next, let's say 3 to 5 years. But it's fun. It's another one of those guys you can count on. And if you remember going back to preseason stuff with the Twins, one of the questions was, what is this Twins infield going to look like when this season is all said and done? Because there's so many guys potentially in the mix, and every single one of them is young, generally speaking, and every single one of them has performed so far this year, like with the exception of Kyle Farmer.
Ed Julian maybe is the one.
And Ed Julian, you're exactly right. But, one of them was not going to be great.
Right.
You just didn't know which one it was going to be, and you hoped it was only one and not 4 of the potential 6 guys who could play one of your infield spots. It's been really kind of a fascinating watch, and obviously it's very, very early with Brooks. Also, one of my boys has that name, so there's just no way I'm not going to be irrational about Brooks Lee for probably the rest of his career.
Yeah, you know what? Well, and he's going to play for the Twins for 10 plus years and be make the All-Star game a couple times, so it's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. With Brooks Lee, again, he's already got his first career home run. His first game, he notched 2 hits, including an RBI. He's already got like 6 RBIs in like 5 career games. Just a producer. And it's going to be interesting, like you talked about with the infield, because honestly, this is kind of my hot take where things are going. I think when Royce Lewis comes back and is healthy, wouldn't be surprised if Brooks Lee is the third baseman and they move Lewis to second base. Would you be opposed to that idea? I feel like Lee is a better third baseman than Lewis.
Yeah, I guess I don't. I'll have to just trust your instinct on that one. I guess I don't really know. A part of me keeps thinking, first of all, Brooks Lee's a bigger man than I thought he was. He looks just a bigger dude. I don't know why. I just always in my head kind of pictured a slight second baseman, slight short, like a
traditional, like lanky, kind of stout. Yeah.
Alexi Casilla.
Yeah.
So he's a bigger dude than I imagined. I think Royce the ultimate goal for him is to play shortstop anyway. And, so I think if that were the case, Royce is not the long-term solution at third base.
Right.
He's moving to another position. He also, the way Twins do things and protect players, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. It just is the case. He might have to move that guy over to first base just to keep it as low contact of a sport as possible for a guy.
The Twins infield is fascinating because I think Brooks Lee is a more polished fielder, which is why he played shortstop. He played primarily shortstop for the Saints all season. And I think he's more polished, which is why it fits better at third base. As we learned with Dozier and with Polanco, guys who tried to play shortstop, like you can mask their inefficiencies as a fielder a little bit more at second base. But still, you have to figure out what to do with guys like Ed Julian if he ever turns it around. Jose Miranda, as we talked about, has turned it around. He's a primary third baseman. Is he the first baseman of the future? Is Ed Julian maybe going to move primarily to first base? Because you don't want to move either one to DH this early in their careers. It's going to be fascinating what the team wants to do because they have so many infield options to choose from. And by the way, the Twins' second-round pick from last year, Luke Keschall, he plays a little bit of second base, primarily a corner outfielder. He was replacing Brooks Lee because Brooks Lee got put into the Futures game, got his MLB debut. He's ineligible for that. Twins' second-round pick out of Florida State, already making moves in Double-A to get the Futures game nod. So there you go. The Twins have potentially more infield options on the way. So it's a fascinating thing. Going to end the Brooks Lee discussion with
it's the vibe I love.
Feeling.
Can I throw one more Twins thing out there off the docket just to see just a really quick.
Yep.
When's the trade deadline?
The trade deadline is the end of July. So like July 31st, August 1st, somewhere in there.
Is Santana going to get traded?
Carlos Santana? No, I feel like they'll keep him.
You think so? Despite Lee doing what he's doing and Miranda not being the hottest hitter in all of baseball, like, is Santana the guy that you can trade to get in a piece to get you over the hump in the second half towards a division push?
I mean, I never rule anything out. I feel like the Twins probably value a lot of what Santana just does, like as a clubhouse guy and whatnot, veteran experience. And I feel like with the Twins, how they love to stockpile depth, and by that I mean last year, like we saw, they would not cut veterans who were struggling because they wanted depth. I feel like they're going to still, even though they have it.
But he's not really struggling, right, Santana?
He like kind of goes up and down on his hot streaks, but he's not been as bad as he was in the first month of the season.
Sure.
At first, he's like below average.
He's like a total pro, is my point. And isn't there a team out there who's going to want a total? Let me re-ask the question.
That's all I'm saying.
Right. So who's the guy then?
Who's the guy that they trade? That's a good question. Maybe it is Keschall. Maybe it is.
Maybe maybe it's a conversation for later in the week after we put a little more thought into this.
Right. It is like I'm fascinated who they trade because Brooks Lee was obviously a potential trade chip. And there were some people in the fan base calling for that because it's like if you don't think Brooks Lee's going to play shortstop, but he's a shortstop prospect has immense trade value. And if you don't feel like with Ed Julian and Miranda and Lewis and Correa, like he was going to fit, you trade him and see if you can get a high-end starting pitcher. The Twins love Brooks Lee. When they drafted him, they didn't think he was going to fall to them. Like if you're just internally you're super high on a guy,
why?
Right, exactly. And they're seeing why. He's a high floor prospect who can is a top prospect with a high floor. Like you're not gonna bail on a guy like that for something else. Okay. All right. Other vibe check with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards right now at Team USA workouts for the Olympics.
Yep.
Here's the quote that's been making the rounds yesterday. I'm going to play it for you. Okay, never mind. I was fine. I thought I had it here. There's Anthony. Okay, here we go. Here's the quote. All right, a perfectly Anthony Edwards quote. Player what's your vibe?
What's my vibe on Anthony Edwards?
All right, Corey, what's your vibe on Anthony Edwards?
The guy's an absolute lunatic, and I'm so happy he plays for my favorite team. He is A, super likable, B, an unbelievable menace, and C, really wrong about this. He is not the number one option.
No, he's not. And I think there's the sociopath in him that believes that, but they're listen to the way he says that.
He's D, also a guy of his general. Like he knows exactly what he's saying.
Right, exactly. If you remember the first interview, this reminds me of that first ever interview that Anthony Edwards did, and it was with Arnie Gellner.
So good.
It was so good because she was not prepared for Anthony Edwards, nor was anybody. And she's learning in real time of he's BSing, he's doing whatever, but he's got this confidence about him, that smirk.
Yeah.
He says it. Yeah. And a lot of people are ripping him on social media, but this is the thing that made everybody love Anthony Edwards is his unabashed confidence and charisma. You can't get mad at him for having that same confidence and charisma. He knows that that's not true, but he also believes that it is true at the same time. It's why he's so good, and it's why he's so fun to watch. So I don't think take him seriously. Don't take him literally. You know what I mean? Whenever you hear Anthony Edwards say something, does that make sense? I feel like that's true.
I'm so excited. I've said it before. I'm so excited in this Olympics to watch him and Team USA just unleash him defensively. And he's going to average 16 points a game, and 11 of them are going to come off transition. You know what I mean? There's just going to be dunk after dunk after dunk highlight from Anthony Edwards in these Olympics. And it's going to be because he's a psychopath on defense.
It's going to be really fun. And I think it's important too for Anthony Edwards in and of itself, just to be around all of those guys, to be around LeBron, to be around KD, to be around that entire team, to be around Steph, to just get to be on Team USA and get to be around the best players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just feels like it's very important for where he's at in his career to just have a summer like that where you get to pick all their brains and then get back home and rest and then get ready for the season again. Am I wrong on that?
No. There's some people who put a lot of stock into this. The young guys learning from the old guys what it means to be a professional. You think you know, but then you get to the weight room and LeBron's been in there for an hour already, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And then so you start to work your tail off, and you look up, and you're ready to wrap it up, and you look up, and he's still in there. Also, the basketball skill development that like you're around all of these best guys development wise, skills wise, that you have to learn what it means to keep up or catch up or hang with those guys who can really, really handle the ball and don't miss. They don't take a lazy shot in practice. Those sorts of things are really important. And then for a guy who really started taking basketball seriously a little later in life than the rest of them, because he was a pretty high football recruit, and that's the story anyway. He was really going to consider playing football. But for a guy now who's pretty young, who still probably goes home to Georgia and drinks a little sweet tea and eats a little too much ice cream and whatever, he now has a summer committed to Olympic basketball and just basketball. And he's young enough that his body's going to be, is going to be able to recover from those sorts of things. And he's going to be able to go hard. And the beginning of the 24-25 season, it should be a pretty, I have high expectations for him coming into the next regular season because of what hopefully this Olympics should do for him.
Right. And he played on Team USA last year in the FIBA or whatever kind of tournament it was, which is good. But, that wasn't the full Team USA roster. Now to get the full, like we talked about with LeBron. And so he was doing it last year, playing basketball all year round and doing some stuff. But like you talked about, to have those vets and
seriously, the U.S. doesn't take it as seriously, as evidenced by the fact that none of these guys on the Olympic roster were on that FIBA team.
Right. And now it's the Olympics and they're like, time to win the gold medal.
Correct.
We're in. We're locking in. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited to watch them plow through everybody. By the way, Joel in that practice, there was a clip of practice going in. Tries to bait a foul and then throws his arms up in a scrimmage.
I know.
What are you doing
against college kids?
Why is he on this team? He's not okay. All right.
He's so skilled. So skilled.
It's just a shame that he's put his whole career into foul baiting.
Into really annoying basketball.
Yeah. All right.
Seems hard.
So are you feeling good about the Anthony Edwards quote?
Always. Also, did you see his shoes?
Oh, yeah. The Team USA colors.
Get me a pair of those ASAP.
It's the vibe I love.
It's your American duty to go do that. Him on the floor with those in Team USA. It's gonna be great.
My birthday's at the end of August. If you're looking to get me anything, please.
So Amateur Hour, by the way, new episode up right now, WadenaRadio.com, the Superstation K106 mobile app. Only 2 more weekends, Corey, of regular season amateur baseball until the playoffs come around. So it's heating up as we get ready. Everybody's trying to jockey for playoff position. 4th of July recap, a lot of fun getting to kind of follow these teams through social media and kind of see the July 3rd and 4th games with fireworks post-game and whatnot. Whether it's bald eagles, McDonald's, apple pie, I mean, nothing's more American than baseball. So to get to see that take place is it's really fun. So you can find the full write-up at WadenaRadio.com.
Okay.
All right. One last thing, and then we'll break for the day. So I find my picture I wanted to pull up here. George Costanza Bobblehead Night took place on July 5th for the New York Yankees. Of course, and it has on the bottom, assistant to the traveling secretary.
Yes.
Right there, as you can see.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant. He's got that clip where he's talking with Derek Jeter and he hits the home run while giving him advice. It's perfect. A perfect thing for Seinfeld night. And it's even more perfect that the Yankees lost to the Red Sox. Go-ahead home run in the 9th inning. The Yankees, by the way, are still like the 3rd best record in the American League. They've won over 55 games, but they've not played well in the last 2 weeks. And now their whole fan base wants to fire everybody, send everybody down, cut everybody, whatever. Like typical Yankees fans are playing the victim. Like they're not one of the most successful sports franchises in history. Anyway.
And this year.
Yeah, exactly. So stuff it, Yankees fans. We don't care. Anyway, this is more the question. First of all, I'd love a George Costanza bobblehead. I'd love to have it sitting here.
Would you?
It'd be so awesome. I'd love it. If you could do your own bobblehead night, Corey, where you got to pick like anything out there, but it's for the Twins. Like, so we'll just keep it local. If the Twins said, Corey, you get no limits, you get to pick the bobblehead night. I didn't give you a ton of time, but I gave you a little bit of time to think about this. Do you have any options? What are you looking at?
Okay, so a couple things crossed my mind. First of all, the obvious answer here would be a Prince bobblehead, right? You really, or like a Bob Dylan, right? You hit your Minnesota celebrity hard. So those are the obvious ones. Let's rule those out because plenty of Bob Dylan theme nights and Prince theme nights have already happened.
Do like a Prince night, like at least once a year now. So,
correct.
Yeah.
The Twins also do a really neat thing. This is classic Twins territory. This is classic Minnesota, but they, 3 times a summer have like a college theme night, right? So they'll have like a Bemidji State, they'll have a St. Thomas, they'll have
ESU and SDSU. Yeah.
Those are really great. But again, no bobbleheads with any of those. We're talking about specifically bobblehead and Minnesota, not adjacent. That's not the right word, but like Twins adjacent.
Sure.
Minnesota related. The best answer I could think of was either a Coach Gordon Bombay or Charlie Conway Mighty Ducks bobblehead. That's the best thing I could come up with.
Interesting. I thought you were going to go a deep cut and you were going to do like the Coach, like the TV show, like the reference there.
Oh, the Minnesota State. That's a great one. That would be yes. That would also be it. Less, I think, culturally important, obviously, than Seinfeld, but probably also than Mighty Ducks.
Right. Because like, I mean, obviously the young kids aren't going to get it. Like George Costanza is like a meme now. That's why Seinfeld is popular still with the kids. Like they don't really watch Seinfeld, but they'll watch the clips and they'll have the stuff, whatever.
It's famous because it exists now. It's not famous because of how good it was.
Nobody's watching the Jerry Seinfeld stand-up bits at the beginning of the episode and going, "Oh my gosh, comedy gold."
Seinfeld's famous now. The show Seinfeld is famous now for the same reason Kim Kardashian. They just are there and people talk about them.
They exist. They're around. And I think it's mainly not even Seinfeld. I think it's Jason Alexander. It's George Costanza is why like clips of him on the show because he's a psychopath.
Psycho
is what makes it funny. Him and Kramer, like that's anyway. That's it.
I have some more answer if you don't mind.
Go for it. Yeah.
This is pushing the limits of Minnesota related, but I think, but only because of what it's named. I would be fine with like a William H. Macy or Francis McDormand in Fargo.
Okay, yeah, like the wood chipper. That's what you have as the bobblehead.
That'd be hilarious. Well, they spend all that time in Brainerd,
Yeah, no. Oh,
So that would be another. That was the Mighty Ducks and a Fargo a bobblehead reference would be probably the two where my brain takes me.
See, here's where I would go because I love the movie Little Big League that came out in the mid-90s about the kid who owns the Twins and then becomes the manager and whatnot. It's a great baseball movie. I'm a homer, but I can't recommend it enough because like the theme, like I could like actually break down critically the movie and the themes of it and whatever, like growing up and a kid's game and all that stuff. It's actually great. And it's also funny and it's about my favorite baseball team. So I like it. Ken Griffey Jr. takes it over for no reason other than because it was Ken Griffey Jr. in 1994.
Right.
But Randy Johnson makes an appearance. Lou Piniella is there. Like it's a great time for all involved. But I would do a couple different scenes from the movie as a bobblehead. One would be where they're all around the chalkboard right before the big tiebreaker game with Seattle for the wild card spot, where they're all sitting there trying to figure it out. And it's like, Tommy can paint a house in 5 hours. He can paint a house in 3. How long does it take him to do it together? And they're just like 8. And, put them together. Divided by 2. It's 4. It's like they're all just have no idea. And then Bowers comes in with the chalk and just explains the problem. And then, it's funny. And the way he did that, by the way, I used in my math class. And as soon as I realized that's what this problem was, or like that's what was getting explained, there's a completely different way to do it. in Mr. Reaver's math class, I ignored him for like 5 minutes because I'm like, I already know what's going on.
Yeah.
I ignored math class, obviously, because I'm a communications major. But like, that's one where it's like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't need this. I can use A times B over A plus B. It's come in our answer of 1 7/8. I can put Little Big League anywhere. So out of that scene where they're all huddled around the chalkboard, that would be a bobblehead. You know, it's harder to do with multiple people, but the Twins have made it work before.
Sure.
And my other one would be Billy renting night nurses from Jersey in the hotel room. when he's
Great answer.
it's a great answer. Night nurses from Jersey. And he's like telling his friend, he's like bragging, he's like, they don't even know. You can get it sent right to your room. It's awesome. Like 5 minutes in the movie later, he gets the bill and his mom's like, must have been a great movie if you rented it 6 times.
So I love it. I love that answer a lot because that is a very Twins related because they're all in Twins uniforms. Is there one that is like fairly obscure? Like what was Jason Segel's Marshall from How I Met Your Mother?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, just a picture, just a bobblehead of Jason Segel, and it says how, you know what I mean? Like, is there a really random sort of Minnesota reference out there? Because the ones we talked about are all like, you would get to Mighty Ducks, you would get to, you know, everything else that we referenced. What is there one off the beaten path that would be like, this is silly that they're doing this, but kind of awesome at the same time?
Right.
Is there one? I don't know that there is, by the way. I
don't know either. Now I'm thinking about
one off the top of my head, but
man, I mean, it wouldn't be that off the beaten path, but like a Josh Duhamel, maybe a Duhamel. Like,
oh yeah.
Okay, how about this? How about a Nick Swartzen, Howie from Benchwarmers?
Yes,
that works.
Yes, that works perfectly.
Yeah, he's got the long hair, and it's just him holding the sword. And he gets into the batter's box. Works out.
Well, I like that too because Nick Swartzen would get invited to the Twins to throw out the first pitch
and show up completely high.
He would be out. He would be out of this world, physically and mentally.
Come on, Twins, get it going. We got some great ideas.
Where's that marketing team when we need them?
I know. Send it. We'll do it.
Twins marketing.
Come on. This has been the Morning Sports Desk for Monday, July 8th.